Pennsylvania seemed to be the absolutely key state in every way in this election. And I was really surprised and flattered that he noticed I was in the audience.
Very highly respected Nigel Farage. He was the big winner of the last election in the UK, and he's a very spectacular man.
Did you know that the UK relies heavily on the US for intelligence sharing and defense cooperation? This crucial fact became the centerpiece of a recent interview where Nigel Farage left a TV host speechless. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. As accusations flew about Farage's ties to Trump, he flipped the script, focusing on the bigger picture of national security. The result? An interview that went from confrontational to thought-provoking in a matter of minutes. Farage's response to accusations of Trump ties caught everyone off guard. The interviewer had laid a carefully crafted trap, aiming to corner Farage on his connections to the controversial former US president. It seemed like a surefire way to put Farage on the defensive and potentially expose some unsavory political allegiances.
Not much really lives up to the last 2 or 3 days. In America, I arrived late on Sunday night, and I went first to a Donald Trump rally that took place in a town called Reading in Pennsylvania. Well, that was very nice of him, but hey, I've been a very loyal friend over the course of the last 9 years. I've never wavered or wobbled in my support of him, even at times when it hasn't necessarily.
At first, Farage appeared to be caught flat-footed. He paused, his brow furrowed as if searching for the right words. The host leaned in, sensing blood in the water. But what happened next left everyone stunned. Instead of engaging in a tit-for-tat about his personal relationship with Trump, Farage pivoted masterfully. He began discussing the crucial importance of UK-US intelligence sharing agreements. Suddenly, the conversation shifted from petty political associations to matters of national security. Farage emphasized how these partnerships are vital for countering global threats like terrorism and cyber attacks. He explained that this isn't just symbolic posturing, it's essential for both nations' security in an increasingly unpredictable world. The host, clearly unprepared for this angle, struggled to regain control of the narrative. But Farage wasn't finished. He pressed on, highlighting the UK's reliance on its relationship with the US for military support. Without a good military relationship with America, we are in very big trouble, he asserted. This statement underscored the strategic necessity of maintaining strong defense ties, regardless of who occupies the White House. The conversation had now completely transformed. What began as an attempt to embarrass Farage over his Trump connections had become a serious discussion about Britain's place on the global stage. Farage drove his point home by emphasizing the economic benefits of the US-UK relationship, particularly in the context of post-Brexit challenges. As Farage built towards his key argument, the tension in the studio was palpable. The host, visibly struggling to regain control, seemed to realize they had underestimated their guest. Farage delivered his coup de grace. The UK must prioritize its relationship with the US if it wants to remain a major player on the world stage. With those words, Farage had completely reframed the debate. No longer was this about personal political allegiances. It was about Britain's global interests and national security. The host, who had begun the interview on the offensive, now sat in stunned silence. This exchange wasn't just a political sparring match, it was a masterclass in rhetorical strategy. Farage had taken an attack aimed at him personally and turned it into a broader discussion about geopolitics and national interests. But what does this mean for the future of political discourse? Let's explore the implications of this interview technique and how it might shape future political debates. The art of asking questions is a powerful tool, often wielded by journalists to extract information from their subjects. But what happens when a politician flips the script and starts interrogating the interviewer? Farage was about to demonstrate the potency of this approach, and the results would be nothing short of astonishing. In typical political interviews, the power dynamic is clear. The journalist asks probing questions, and the politician answers, often trying to navigate around sensitive topics or stick to rehearsed talking points. It's a dance we've all seen countless times, with varying degrees of success for both parties. But Farage was about to change the rules of engagement entirely. As the interview progressed, there was a palpable shift in the atmosphere. Farage, instead of merely responding to accusations, began posing his own questions to the host. This unexpected role reversal caught the interviewer completely off guard. Suddenly, the tables had turned, and the host found themselves struggling to maintain control of the conversation. Farage's questions weren't just random deflections. They were carefully crafted to expose broader issues in UK politics that the media often glosses over. He challenged the interviewer to consider the implications of weakening UK-US relations, the potential consequences for national security, and the economic ramifications in a post-Brexit landscape. Each question peeled back another layer of complexity, revealing the intricate web of international relations that underpins British politics. The host's reaction to this role reversal was telling. As Farage continued his line of questioning, the interviewer's confident demeanor began to crumble. They stammered, struggled to formulate coherent responses, and appeared visibly uncomfortable with their newfound position as the interviewee. This psychological impact of role reversal in confrontational situations was on full display, illustrating how effective questioning can destabilize even the most seasoned media professionals. As the exchange reached its climax, it became clear that Farage's approach had fundamentally altered the course of the interview. His use of the Socratic method, asking and answering questions to stimulate critical thinking and illuminate ideas, had transformed what could have been a standard political grilling into a thought-provoking discussion about Britain's place in the world. The final moments of the interview were perhaps the most revealing. The host, who had begun the segment with an arsenal of accusations, now sat in stunned silence. Farage's strategic use of questions had not only deflected personal attacks, but had also sparked a deeper conversation about national interests and global alliances. The interviewer was left speechless, a rare sight in the world of political media. This exchange raises important questions about the future of political discourse in the media age. How might this approach, and what responsibility do both politicians and media figures have in fostering meaningful public debate? Farage's interview strategy reflects a broader shift in political discourse, where politicians are increasingly challenging the traditional media narrative. This approach, combining rhetorical skill with strategic questioning, may become more prevalent as public trust in mainstream media wavers. The future of political communication in the media age could see a blurring of lines between interviewer and interviewee, with both parties vying for control of the narrative. The responsibility of politicians and media figures in fostering meaningful public debate remains a contentious issue. While some argue that confrontational interviews serve the public interest by holding politicians accountable, others contend that this approach often devolves into spectacle rather than substance. As public skepticism grows, both politicians and journalists may need to reassess their roles in shaping political discourse and find new ways to engage with an increasingly discerning audience.